When we launched the property show, we were aiming to reach out to the home seeker, the property investor, the first timer and the budget home buyer. And over the course of the 600 plus episodes in 3 years, we have put out, increasingly another audience began finding voice on our shows, that of the citizen. The story never ends at just recommending a project or a location. People today are struggling with the number of forces and issues that are making our cities and even new property markets unlivable. And we want to track those burning urban issues on our new feature, Citizen's Voice. Today, our reporter in Mumbai is on location at Chembur's Deonar dumping ground. She's speaking to people who live nearby about the dismal state of waste management in the suburbs of Mumbai.
Thousands of Mumbaikars have been filing complaints asking the government and the civic bodies to take action and treat the landfills that are covered with garbage in residential areas across the city. But their pleas have fallen on deaf ears. Today I have with me Mr. Rajkumar Sharma, who is a resident of Chembur and also an activist who has been suffering because of this problem over the last few years. And the director of Van Shakti, Mr. Stalin, who has taken up this cause actively. And we also have Mr. Deonar Banerjee, who is the founder of Sampurna Earth, a waste management company. Thank you for joining us. So Mr. Sharma, you've been in an area with untreated garbage piling up for years now. How has this impacted your life?
It has impacted us very badly. People have breathing problems. If you go around in this area, you will find skin diseases, you will find TB, you will find all kind of ailments with the people living here, but they are forced to live here. Other residents, I am born and brought up in Chembur, so I know we have to bear the stink almost daily, every day, throughout the day. And it is terrible, especially during monsoons and winter when the atmosphere is heavy. Then it spreads so badly that it is unbearable.
All right.
And nobody seems to be bothered about it. This dumping ground is from 1927 and lakhs of tons of garbage is here.
Now this issue has been building up for a while now. Can you give us a scale of how many residents are affected by this and also how many of them have approached you for help?
I would say at least about 20 organizations have come to me, so that effectively translates into say about 500 people. This problem is faced by the people in the eastern suburbs. What we are somehow forgetting is that this huge pile which you see behind here is continuously oozing out toxic and carcinogenic elements into the creek. Into the creek means it's going into your food chain. Eventually, this population of Mumbai, let the government come out. I challenge the government on this. The number of cancer patients have doubled or tripled in the last 10 years. We have somehow decided that we will poison ourselves to death. Now, this is not something which is what you call unavoidable. This is solely happening because there is a huge racket to be made, money to be made in this racket of handling waste. If you see, this is the only one of the big grey areas in the municipal corporation where they are not bothered to tell us how much which ward is generating, why it is not being segregated. The law is very clear. There is no ambiguity in the law. See, I can understand ignorance of the law, but you cannot feign ignorance for 30 years, 40 years.
Many years back, I think 2009 or 10, they had given it to different agencies, companies. Like Kanjurmar has been given to Anthony Lara. This has been given to Tattva Global. And they were supposed to treat, process, half of the dumping ground was supposed to be closed. Then there was supposed to be a landfill and there was supposed to be a processing plant. They have increased this area, you will be shocked, that from 110 to 132 hectares. Means they have added one Mulund dumping ground to this. So much they have increased. My PIL says that if you have allowed, you have an agreement with the company that you will be sending only 2,000 tons of waste over here so that it can be managed and processed. But they are sending 5,000 to 6,000 tons every day. True. And for the last so many years. So what is going to happen? And the fact that they had written to the airport authority that they want to increase the height of this dumping ground, which we have objected to also. I have written a letter to them not to give them permission. So if they are planning to increase, actually if they are going to process it, the height should decrease. And if they write to an authority for permission to increase, that means their intentions are very wrong.
One of the main reasons for this is the fact that the BMC and the government can't come to a consensus regarding the issue, and because of which it is the common man at the end of the day who suffers, people who are living around this area who are suffering. What can be done? What solution can be provided for this?
Maharashtra Pollution Control Board gives permissions for certain kind of procedures which have to be followed on every dumping ground. It's not key, it's a grey area. Now after issuing those conditions, it is their duty to shut it down if it's not complying. Okay, so now this was done only in one case so far, and it was done only to benefit a builder. That was in Chincholi Bandar. I'll come out and I'll be on camera saying this. That was the only place where the MPCB displayed extraordinary speed in shutting down a dumping ground which was not conforming to the rules. Thousands, if not 10,000s of people living in Mulund, 2 lakh people around Kanjurmarg, around the same number in Deonar, Chembur, they're all suffering. The government, if it is serious, it should ask the urban development department to hand this over to someone else who will handle, some agency which can handle waste exclusively. The municipal corporation has won the honors in mismanaging the waste of the city, whether it is Kanjurmarg, Deonar, Gorai, wherever it is. See, actually, if you were in a Western country, by now the BMC would have gone bankrupt settling claims for causing permanent damage to the citizens' health and damaging the environment. But it's only in our country that a polluter gets an extended lifeline and people who suffer get the short end of the stick.
So he touched upon a few of the solutions, but since you're the expert in waste management, what are the ways in which we can treat this waste?
Like citizens also needs to take this up. Like these days there are different ways of waste management which has to be done inside your residences. There are also rules about it. Like already there are rules like if a new housing society comes up, they have to process their food waste inside. Like there are laws about it, but most of the housing societies are yet not following it up. And if the quantum of waste is so high, like everybody has a excuse to take their hands off of the problem. So I think like everybody has to own up the problem somehow. There are lots of solutions out there, like there are composting biogas at different scales, different ways it's happening. There are authorized recycling organizations who is collecting dry garbage now. So I guess like citizens also needs to opt for this kind of solutions more. And BMC definitely has to own it up and also encourage this kind of initiatives and make sure like it's happening. Like there have been multiple ways like this communication has been happening. Like in a development plan of Mumbai, we have been asking for reserves of space where community composting biogas plant, dry waste centers can come up. So I think all those things needs to happen very fast and in a very professional level. So to make sure like we get a comprehensive solution for the problem.
But for something this magnitude, like you said, the quantum is huge over here. We're not looking at a short-term solution. It has to be long-term.
Yes, and I think the long-term solution has to be a decentralized way of solution. So the dumping ground definitely needs to be better managed. Like there will be still a good amount of waste which will come to the dumping ground. So, but I think like the 10,000 ton problem should be broken down into smaller ones, and that should take us toward the solutions probably.
I will say every citizen of the city is a stakeholder. But today the awareness is much more than what the corporation claims. But they do not even have the infrastructure to collect the dry waste separately. They are just making false claims that some sheds have been made, tempos have been given. No, they do not. That is not enough infrastructure for collecting the dry waste. Secondly, wherever people have been segregating and giving it, in front of their eyes, the BMC vehicle comes, mixes the whole thing and takes it away. So people have stopped segregation also.
Exactly. So with the Bombay High Court now pulling up the BMC as well as the government, asking them to ensure that they reach a consensus regarding how to treat the waste or face a construction ban after a year, do you think this is going to have any impact? Are things going to move faster now, change on ground?
Actually, ban on construction should have been imposed 10 years ago. Because we have been just constructing left, right and center without even bothering to see whether we have the infrastructure to cope with that kind of a population or the pressures which come with it. When we are talking about the solution for this, segregation of waste is a must at source. If you go to Singapore, you go to Australia, you go to even the US, when the garbage collector comes to your doorstep and he sees that you have mixed the waste, he pastes a notice on your door and you have to go to the office, municipal office next day and pay a hefty fine. When that kind of collection systems come into place, we will find that things are okay. Right now, the citizens are equally responsible for this mess. Right. It's not in my backyard syndrome. Just pack it up and throw it out of your house. Where it goes, nobody wants to know. And they pat each other's back when the streets are clean, but little do they realize that their food is getting contaminated at some other source. Fortunately for us and thankfully to the honorable courts, a good judgment has come out that this problem will have to be resolved in a time-bound manner. Right. So this is a good beginning. I hope that the courts stay focused on this issue. Only then will we get a relief from this.
Thank you for joining us. So there you go. These are a few problems that are being faced by residents living around the landfills, and at the same time solutions also which can be implemented to make their lives better. With camera person Malik Arjuna, Ankita Sinha for NDTV.